Welcome to the Ventana workshop to learn how to put 3D on your online portfolio. I'm Ashley Crowder. I'm one of the co-founders of Ventana. I think I've spoken with some of you and I'm sure emailed as well, but it's great. So happy that you guys joined. I'm going to give people just a couple minutes to get started, and I'll introduce Scott May. He's to my left on Zoom right now.
Hello.
He is our creative director. He was honestly Ventana's very first employee 9 years ago. So he knows this stuff in and out, has done our own website. So he's going to be able to walk through how to embed 3D on a variety of different websites, whether you use WordPress, Wix, or Squarespace. And please feel free to ask questions in the chat. I've muted you all for now, but we will definitely have time at the end for questions, and we can kind of do breakout rooms and schedule time for one-on-ones with Scott to help you, just get this stuff up on your website, because that is the goal. Well, yeah, it's 12:33, so we will just get it kicked off. So I'll let you take it from here, Scott.
Yeah, let me share my screen. All right. So going to be talking about using this embed code that's on our platform to share this wonderful looking denim shirt on a variety of sites. Like
you're not
Ashley
sharing
said.
your screen yet, though.
Oh, I'm sorry. Whoops, had to click share. There we go. All right, so here's that wonderful looking denim shirt. So the idea here is that we're going to use this embed code, which is an iframe. And an iframe is just something that it's an inline frame, which shares some kind of document, almost always like an HTML website kind of thing, on another website. If you think of it as just kind of like a portal into another site, that's pretty much what it is. So if I go here and copy the code, or you can just select it and copy it. I'm going to go.
I can interrupt you for one second. Just to kind of start, we're assuming you guys already have a 3D file uploaded to the Ventana platform, so you can click on any 3D file that is on Ventana. If you don't, we can do the upload directions kind of after this. We have them on the website, depending on if you use Clo or Browseware. There's just different instructions on how to export. But yeah, once you have a 3D file on the platform, you can click on it and get to this page. And then that's where you'll see this embed code here. If you click, you could copy the whole thing, or you could actually, if you click this copy section, that will automatically copy the iframe. Or if you click this arrow, that's what just copies the link that you could share with somebody else to, send them to take a look at it. And then the one other thing I want to mention is you do have to make sure it is published to the API. So you do want to click publish.
And I can show you what that looks like if you don't. So on a site like CodePen, which is just kind of like a sandbox for trying out HTML or CSS or whatever. So if I put the embed code here, you'll see what it says if you don't have it. Oops, let me reload. You don't have it. Whoops. Thank you. So if I put the embed code on here, you'll see that it says, oops, it looks like your asset has not been published. So you're going to want to make sure that you have it published to API. And then if you come back here, you can see that when I do this again, it will load. So it's always important to have that published to API done. So why don't we start on something like Squarespace? I have a site set up. It's just any template. I think this one was for a portfolio site. It's pretty basic, but it would work on any of these Squarespace templates. What you do is you go to edit the page. And from here, depending on where you want to put it, I'm thinking of, why don't we put it rather large right underneath this title? I'm going to click on the plus here. And then you have a,
your mouse. Is there a reason?
I'm sorry, what?
We cannot see your mouse on the
Oh,
screen.
weird. Not sure there's an option for that.
That's okay. Just be clear about, I guess.
Yeah. So here you'll see that there's a collection of options on the left of what you can add to your page. You know, images, text, all those are great. But I'm going to go down to, where is it? I always lose it depending on what page I'm on. Chart, social, form. I just add a blank section. So inside here, you then will go to these, they have these little circular, I don't know what to call those, but kind of look like a Kirby ghost-ish kind of shape, but you click on that and then you get an option of what you want to put inside this section. And they have an embed button here, but that's actually not what you want to use on Squarespace. I'm not sure why they have that different than what code is, which is under more here. So if I click on code, that's when you have this space that's just HTML that you can put in whatever you want. So from here, I'll paste the embed code and click apply. And you'll see that it shows up just like we expected. So one thing is that you'll see that the background's white, or in this case, it's the gray lighter option. And the size is kind of small. So what you can do is the first thing you can do is make the size whatever you want. So let's say we want it to be 700 pixels wide by 550 tall. And that's all well and good, but I don't like that the background is different from the background of my site. So I'm going to go back to my product. I'm going to click on more options in the top of the 3D viewer. And from here, you can change a few things. You can change the lighting, the exposure, the environmental map. Ooh. I'm going to leave it in default. Shadow intensity, all that stuff, which is great. But then if I go down to background, I can change this to transparent. Let me save that.
And you do have to click other, just if you couldn't see that.
Yeah.
So if you click other, then the background appears. And then if you hit transparent, it will look white here. But yeah, if you save that and then we'll refresh.
And so, yeah, if we go back to the site, I think just to force it to refresh, I'll change the size. So now it's on transparent, which will be cool for maybe a big image on your homepage, or you know, really if you have some kind of intricate background to put it in, which would be cool. Like imagine if you had like a robot or something, and you have it on some kind of background that kind of looks fitting. That would be cool. So it's pretty easy on almost all these sites. So let's just say save and let's look at the site. So simple, shows up on Squarespace relatively easily. Now I'm going to go to Wix, which they'll have pretty different backend. I would say whatever ways to edit this this content. So here this time I'm going to go to the plus in the top left, or in the left menu. And this time I am going to click embed, because on Wix embed makes sense. And you go to, we're going to go to embed a widget. So now I can move this around. And the nice thing about this is that it tells you the size of this box. So you can kind of get an idea of how big you maybe want this space to be. So this is going to be, let's say, 485 by 380. So in here, I'm going to enter code. And this is where we put that code from before. And because I, of course, instantly forgot what the size was that I made this. So let's say this is 495, 393. You can change this to 495, $393. No, but you can always resize it to be whatever you want, so that there's not scroll bars. And from here, let's get a preview of this. Yep, shows up right there. Easy. I mean, it's really easy. The main takeaway here is that once you have that code in there, you can easily customize the size of it, and especially in a site like Wix, it's pretty easy to move around this element, this box, to be wherever you want it to be. I mean, pretty instantly. All right. So that's Wix, super simple. WordPress is a little bit more difficult, just in the sense that Wix and Squarespace have a very specific way of editing their pages. WordPress, depending on the theme that you have, depending on the plugins you have, can be a little bit more difficult. Regardless of what. Yes.
Sorry, we do have one question. So sorry to interrupt, but how do I cancel resize the logo? I don't want people to think it's my company name. Yeah, so because I believe all of the freelancers are on the free subscription, that is why it has the watermark. So we do have a paid option for the platform that will be released after December 28th. I believe it's like $9 a month is the one, but you could have a paid version to get rid of the logo in the viewer. Awesome. And we just had one more person join. So, and this will be recorded, that we'll share after also, if you guys want to revisit kind of how Scott did all this.
Yeah, and the nice thing, and WordPress kind of sums up what my final point will kind of be, is that if you can edit the HTML, or if you can add custom HTML, which is normally something that's on almost every kind of editor for a site nowadays, if you can do that, you can easily put this embed code in there. So like I was saying, regardless of what your editor is for WordPress, if you use it, like here, I'll say, let me add a row. I'm going to add some, I'm just going to type HTML in the search, raw HTML. That should show up somewhere in your editor. Let me make this a little bit smaller. But in here is where, again, you just are going to paste that embed code. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, say 700 by 700. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's being able to just put in this custom HTML, which is an iframe, and it will show up on your site. From there, you should treat the iframe as if it's an image or anything else. If you wanted to center it, if you wanted to move it around, whatever that is, you now have that element in there, and you can kind of treat it like it's its own little box.
Can you go back to the edit page, and what did you click? What add button did you click to add raw HTML?
So yeah, so to start, you have to add an element, which is just saying, what do you want to put in? I could put it's raw HTML is what it's called, I think, in most of the editors. And from there, it's just HTML that you put in. Let me see if there's, change it to the front end editor. Some of these are a little bit more quirky than they need to be. But from here, yeah, it would also be raw HTML. Maybe paste this. This might even have, a preview. So yeah.
And how would you center that?
So I think in WordPress, it would be, click on the settings for this column. The easiest way would be to, there's a way to center content alignment. Let me see if that does it, or there's always like 4 ways to do something in WordPress. But yeah, so that centered everything that's inside this column. So if I added, so let's say some text or a header, let's do a header. Oops. Center heading, we say. Above it.
So when you just clicked it and dragged it above?
Yeah, so especially in this kind of editor, you can rearrange things relatively easily. WordPress will generally be a little bit more customizable, but also a little bit more difficult than a site like Wix or Squarespace, depending on your experience with web design, that kind of stuff. But once you have the raw HTML and our embed code in there, it's pretty much just like anything else you'd have on your site. So you could duplicate it, clicking that button. I have another one right there. And let me see let's preview this.
And just to understand kind of in the chat, if you guys want to type what type of platform you guys are using, like who's using Wix, who's using Squarespace or WordPress, it'd be great to know. And then we can spend more time.
Yeah, and we can easily make a tutorial video or a how-to video on any of those. I personally don't have a lot of experience with Wix or Squarespace, but because I knew to look for the embed code, an embed button or a custom HTML like element in there, it was relatively easy. I mean, it's great because excuse me, because you can come back to our platform, you can change how it looks once you have it on there. Like if you had a moodier site, let's say your design is darker or something, you can change the environmental map to maybe something that looks a little darker and fit it in there. Or if you have a white background everywhere, maybe you don't want to have it be transparent so that it can stick out on its own. I mean, you have those options. And yeah,
it looks like we've got, just for context, it looks like we've got 3 Wix, 1 Squarespace, and 1 Adobe portfolio. So with Adobe, we are working with them on a deeper integration. They don't allow an iframe embed, unfortunately, today, but we are working with them closely to get that added. So we'll definitely send an email out when we get that integration done.
Yeah, and I personally have used like Behance and Adobe's portfolio stuff for years, and they used to allow whatever HTML you wanted to put in there, but they've been a little bit more closed off in the last couple of years. So it's just getting we're working on it, like Ashley said, getting that approval for there. But it would be the same way of doing it. You would copy and paste this code and you'd put it in their embed section.
And then one question from Lorena. So she uses Wix and had embed as a link instead of HTML because it's easier to resize. Is there anything that you can do with the HTML version versus the link, or is that just another option?
So I was looking into it. There's not a ton you can do. Short answer is no, whatever's easier. I mean, you can, in the HTML that I can edit here, like you can do things like turn the border off or turn it to like 1, which I'm not really sure why someone would want to do that. It's kind of like, it looks like a site from the early 90s, but maybe there's a reason. If you did that, you would have this, kind of like inner shadow, like white and dark outline. That's something you can edit in the HTML that you wouldn't be able to do in the link. But again, there's not a huge amount of customization you can do to it, and that really would be worth spending time on. Allowing full screen would probably be on by default the way that you're doing it, so that'd be fine too. That's actually, this option here is not connected to the button that we have in the viewer. That's something that's just for all iframes that allow it to be able to break out of that space. If you turn that off, if you clicked to view it full screen, it wouldn't work. Just to make that clear, you'd always want to have that on. That's cool though. I hadn't done it that way, embedding it that way. But if that works and it's easy, then yeah, that sounds great. Let me see if I'll do that real quick. I'm guessing you went this route. Copy just the share address. Oh yeah, cool.
Cool. So yeah, the big difference there is it's just clicking the share link, not the full iframe. But yeah.
Yeah.
3D and 3D, it's very meta.
I mean, I obviously knew that that's how you could do that, and I'm not learning that right now on the fly. But no, I mean, that seems like a perfectly normal way to do it. That actually would probably be a lot easier in terms of if you had like a bunch of elements on the page. Yeah, and at this point, my biggest takeaway for this is that, again, if you can put in custom HTML, you can put our embed code there. So whether that's WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, I know like GoDaddy has their own website builder. Most host sites now offer some kind of service like that. It would be the same thing. They almost always have a HTML input. The reason a site like Adobe doesn't is because it's, again, more closed off and is very particular about what you're able to put on there. And so that's a little different. But yeah, any other questions? I can't see the chat very easily. So Ashley, if you want to.
That's okay. I also just made it so anybody can unmute themselves. This was kind of a quick run through, but if there's anyone who wants to share your screen and help us walk you through it, if you're having any issues, welcome to volunteer. So we won't record that part. So
and if there aren't questions and people have want to see how to upload an asset and stuff like that, Ashley can go over that in case there's some people that have questions on that part of this. But yeah, I mean, it's the problem with having a workshop like this is that it's just easy. I mean, it's an easy way of embedding this on your site, so it shouldn't take too long. But I'm trying to think of any problems that could arise. I mean, the main thing is making sure that you're that this is activated. Otherwise, you're going to get that issue where it says you need to activate it. But yeah, and changing the background, probably the largest things. Let's see what that looks like. Delete this one. Resize this.
And we got one question. We can definitely show how to export from Clo and upload that once Scott's done.
Yeah, which, I mean, unless there's any more questions with the embedding, like, and again, if you guys ever do have questions, or if there's a specific site that you're running into that is not easy to do it or whatever, just reach out to us and I'd be happy to make a tutorial video and we can upload that so that it's easy to see how it's done. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it from my side.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Scott. And yeah, again, anybody reach out. One more question. If the image is pixelated, is there a quick fix? I'm noticing when you upload the image to the site, it is not as crisp. Thanks. That might be to internet speed and loading. It should become crisp once it's fully loaded. Something that a new feature we are adding in January is that it will immediately actually load an image first. And so the 3D image will be loading in the background. And that's just to increase like load speed time so that you like immediately have this perfect image that you want as the 3D loads in the background. And then when you scroll your mouse over that image, it will show the 3D moving. So that's one thing that we're doing to kind of make that a little more seamless. But if you can record your screen and send that to us, we'd love to see what the issues are. And if you tell us what computer you're using and what browser you're using, that's also really helpful for us to like diagnose if there's a problem.
Yeah, but like Ashley said, most of it is just a loading thing. It's a way to get you to see that there is content there, and then it normally comes in crisp shortly after that. But
Great.
yeah, so I'll stop sharing.
Awesome. Well, thanks. Well, I had Ben join because Ben is our Clo and browser expert. So he can share his screen and show exactly how to export from Clo. I'm also sending in the chat. We have a web page with a video that explains this as well. But I'll turn it over to you, Ben, so you can kind of walk people through.
Sure. So unfortunately, Clo is just a little bit more complex than Browseware, and this is due to Clo just not being as open of an ecosystem. So we're unfortunately not able to add tools directly like we're working on with Browseware. But there's a couple of things that you need to make sure are correct. Give me a minute while I open up Clo.
And as you're opening that up, to Julie, yes, to embed on LinkedIn or Instagram. So there's two different ways you can do it. So for LinkedIn, you can, I'll share my screen really quick as you're pulling that up. So if I'm on platform, I'm just going to grab the shoe. So if I click this arrow link, that's going to copy the share code. And if I go to LinkedIn, right now it is as easy as copying this. It doesn't look great right now, we know. So we're pushing an update December 28th. So let me just go home. I'm just going to do this privately. Or whatever, I'll delete it right after this. So if I post this right now, it just shows up as this link. What we are changing this to is actually this link will say this is a 3D apparel design, and it will have an image. It'll have like the same image that is the thumbnail image. So if I go back, it's going to show this image, and the text is going to say, this is a 3D design, click the link to see it in 3D. So they would have to click that link right now. For Instagram, the two ways that you can do it, you can actually create a Spark AR filter. So I created a video on how to do that. So I did like a hat try on, so you can actually do different things like that. You don't need to know a single line of code. Because Spark AR has pre-built these experiences, but I can send out that tutorial video later. And if you have an asset you want help with, I can. The way that works is it would show up in your filters. So anyone who followed you could actually use the filter and post. And then the other thing I do is I pull things up on my iPhone. So I would, I go back to the shoe, I would scan the QR code and I just record the screen on my phone to record a video. So those are kind of the ways right now. But definitely you can shoot me an email at ashley@ventana.com and I can kind of help you out, create some of that stuff. But yeah, so now we'll go to Clo.
Okay, everyone can see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so the main things that need to be handled with, well, let me minimize that, are first we want to adjust our top stitching. So basically what you want to do is Clo will export that as actual geometry if you don't make an adjustment here. So it's a little bit slow. So you can select one texture, hold shift down, and select the other so you've got them all at once. You're going to come down here and you can see type. You want to make sure your type is set to texture. So click texture. It'll take a second to process that because otherwise this will be a multi-million poly asset. And there's really no reason for that. And the textures come out fine. Are you all using the latest version, close 6? Yes, no. All right, so after you've adjusted your textures, you're going to want to come over here to your materials, and this you need to go one by one. So essentially what's happening is that Clo is not exporting normal maps and roughness maps totally correctly, so you want to make some adjustments. So you'll scroll down to normal map. Right here, my intensity is less than, basically you don't want intensity over 5. So it's less than 5, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that. And my roughness map is set to intensity, but I actually want to set it to map. So if you follow the link that Ashley sent, we have roughness maps there. So this was set to 50. So what I'm going to do is click on right here. And I'll open up a dialog box.
Can you go to the website and show exactly what you're downloading? So that link I sent is what Ben will go to right now.
Second.
We can only see your close screen, Ben.
Yeah, 1 second.
That's a lot of open apps, Ben. Stressing me out.
So you're just going to click right here and click on the roughness maps, and I'll download a zip folder with all the roughness maps. And so all I'm doing is finding the corresponding roughness map to whatever was the closest. So in this case, I've got an intensity of 50. So I'm going to open that roughness map of 50. Then I'm going to go to my next texture. Again, I'm going to check out my normal map. Intensity set to 59. I want to bring that down to 5. So basically what's happening with Clo is that it's multiplying things by a factor of 10. And this is a bug that we've reported in Clo for their GLB exports specifically. So I'm going to bring that down to 5, which is the maximum you ever want to have it. Again, I'm going to take roughness map. It was at 45 before. I don't know if you saw that. So I'm going to open up here. And I'm going to pick 45. You don't need to worry about adjusting the intensity after you've selected the right map. Then I'm going to come back here, I'll check my normal map again. It's good, it's less than 5 or at 5. And I already have my roughness set to map. So once those settings are good, I'm going to come up here and go to File, Export. I'm going to export a GLB file. Proceed, probably because I have so many apps open. Test, place it. And again, all these settings are available on the platform. We're going to set that to thick. If you want the avatar, you have select all avatars. If you don't, just uncheck it. And then pretty much everything else is going to be left the same. And this should default to multiple objects, but if it's a single object, make sure it's set to multiple objects. And then you click OK, and it'll export. I'm not going to do that right now because my computer is already heating up, but you all know what happens next. So that's how to export a file from Clo. Usually it's fewer steps than that. It kind of depends on where your textures are coming from. Hopefully most of your materials already have roughness maps in them. The big thing definitely though is making sure that you're handling this top stitching, because otherwise you're going to be generating millions of polygons unnecessarily.
Can you explain what you mean again by handling the top stitching?
You're going to want to make sure you set it to texture rather than OBJ.
Yeah.
Any questions?
And you guys can unmute yourself too if you want, or you can stick with the chat. Awesome. Well, yeah, if anybody has any questions, I know we put in the chat the link to our YouTube video with the Spark AR tutorial. I know it's kind of long, so please reach out if you have any questions. We're happy to help create some. We want people to be able to share more. So Lorena, is there any way to do the same with buttons? I mean, same as top stitch with Clo.
Let me check. I don't think. No, but buttons aren't generating a lot of geometry. In Browseware, I know that all the textures are all the trims are exported as textures. But in Clo, I don't think there's an option to make buttons textures.
So they just don't do anything special?
Correct.
Okay. No problem. Cool. Any other questions? We can make Scott keep designing more websites. Very cool. Well, thank you guys all so much for joining. We will be sending out this recording, and then I'll also include links to the Spark AR tutorial, the Clo and Browseware tutorial as well. I'll just include some links with what they are. But yeah, reach out if you have any questions, and I hope everyone has a happy holiday.